Good morning. What's up, guys? How we doing? Hope you're all having a good one here. Thus far, market is open. Institutional orders should be pretty much clear by now, so we are good to go. I was having some issues with my chat feature here this morning. If you guys could just really quick take a second, drop a good morning or a bunch of emojis or whatever you want in the chat. I just want to make sure I can see everybody, and I'd appreciate you doing so while we get started here. So I've been watching this market, and we got CPI this morning, which definitely helped a bit with volatility. We actually pushed above 2022 by 100 or so points, and we've now faded, and we're pretty much hovering right around 22. 22,000 is a tier 1 level. So we're going to be paying attention to that today. Now remember, the more times that level gets tested after the bell, in my opinion, in my experience, the less relevant it becomes. Okay, there's less stops around it, especially right now, like we just tested it a couple of times. This test here is not the most relevant thing in the world, but it's still a tier 1 level, and people are still going to pay attention to it more than any random number on the chart. Good morning, guys. How we doing? It looks like I can see everybody. Good. Good. I'm glad it's working. All right. Tony, good morning. Cisco says, good morning, Nico. You said go big. I did. Past 4 50K evals this morning on the news. Cool, brother. That's awesome. You'll be funded tomorrow and ready to rock. Cisco, have you been funded before? Or is this old news for you, or is this your first set? Michael got 2 more evals with code BIG. Yeah, Apex is 80% off single day pass right now, which is the second best deal that they run. All right. So I'm ready to rock here. Okay, now as far as market inertia, we might as well look at the daily, bottom of your screen. We've transitioned from that flat top we were seeing right around 21.5, it was like 21.450 to 21.550. And now 22,000 is the area to watch, but we've transitioned into a slow grind higher, it seems. But we can't call this a trend market because it's not. We're seeing a lot of wicks on the daily and not a lot of follow through. The last couple of days has been a lot of breakout attempts and a lot of failed breakout attempts. So I'm continuing with a similar mindset that we've seen the past couple of days. I'm willing to take more intraday swing mentality trades if they're in the low end of the range for a long and the high end of a range with confirmation, of course, for both. For a short, unless we see a really hard push, back below 22, but arguably more importantly above 22.1. Unless we see that, I'm not incredibly interested in taking big swings at big swing trades at the high of day, for example. This isn't really as much of like a stop entry market. So I'm going to do my best to stick to utilizing only those at the far ends of the range. Again, bottom of the range for longs, top end of the range for shorts. Maybe some limit order scalping. We'll see what the market presents us. And again, unless I get hit over the head with something that says, hey, this is a really strong trend, which we can see by the price action, I'm going to stick to that. That's the plan. That's what I'm planning here today. Headline from Trump here a couple of minutes ago. He said the Fed should lower by 1 full point. Yeah, you know. Oh, this is tough because it's always the president and then the vice president. It doesn't matter who it is, by the way. Both, well, I mean, both sides really do this. It's always them against the Fed. And the problem is with all the headlines we get in the media, a lot of the public, like I'm sure we understand this, but a lot of the public doesn't get it. So we got a headline today. It says Vance joins Trump in bashing Powell, says Fed is committing, quote, monetary malpractice by not cutting rates. Now, believe me, the cheap money thing was amazing. It's great. I love it. But we gotta look at both sides of this, right? I mean, the Fed has a job to do, and the Fed's job is to make themselves look good, which means they can't make big moves too fast. They would rather be way too slow than risk being too fast and then having there be no doubt that they messed up. Okay, at least when they're slow, they seem to the untrained eye more in control of this big giant ship that is the US economy. So now why would the vice president say this? Again, doesn't matter if they're Republican or Democrat, because cheap money makes everybody do a little bit better. And when people are doing a little bit better because money's cheap, guess what? They vote for that side 4 years later. It is just a brutally, laughably transparent game, politics. And by the way, that goes for both sides. I love cheap money, but it's hard to be like, yeah, when I know that when you have peeked behind the curtain and you know what's going on, it's kind of, I don't know, kind of weird. All right, so we are forming a little channel here. It looks to me like a little descending channel. However, all we're basically doing is backfilling this push that we got off CPI. Okay, so the 15-minute opening range, or I suppose the entire range of the day so far here, is actually better than we saw yesterday. It's about 110 points, which is good. Okay, so we'll see if we can kind of expand that a little bit. Expanding that to the downside, I would not hate. However, pushing up above this high, I gotta say, I'd also kind of like. I really don't care which direction it goes, but if we can push above that high, it does open up the skies a little bit and put the pressure on the bears to really have to step in and sell at random points, which a lot of them are not going to be willing to do, which is probably the best hope at getting this transition from a range to a trend, which is coming. It's just not here yet. Jacob, good morning. How we doing? We are getting some headlines here from U.S. Treasury Secretary. If China upholds its end of the initial Geneva trade agreement, a big, beautiful rebalancing of U.S. and Chinese economies is possible. Another headline here. The Trump administration has cut IRS expenses and planned spending on tech by $2 billion. Yeah, it shouldn't move. These things shouldn't be moving the market much. Okay, I think we're good. As far as news, again, we had CPI this morning, obviously a very big event. We have EIA crude oil at 9:30 Central here. That is in about 27 and a half minutes. That should not move the Nasdaq much. Sometimes if the number is really off, low or high, it can move the S&Ps, and that moves the Nasdaq, but I wouldn't count on it. So I think we're good to trade through 9:30. And then the White House press secretary is speaking again. I'm sorry, is speaking in general at noon. Different, obviously. And then at 3 o'clock, we have Trump speaking. So that's what's going on today as far as scheduled news. Now that CPI is out of the way, we're pretty set here. Obviously, we need to keep an eye out for unscheduled news. Tariff related, trade deal related. That will move the market. We've been seeing that a lot lately. So again, live stop orders, live limit orders, even if you don't necessarily plan to let a trade go as far as the limit order is, I think it's important to have that order out in case you see a big push, because if you're like in a trade and you have a, let's say a 40-point stop loss, 60-point take profit, for example, in your head, I might leave that limit order out at 100 points, 120 points, because if we get a push out of the blue that goes in your favor, I mean, I prefer to leave it uncapped in an environment like this where we are seeing that. Unscheduled news drops that are moving the market 50, 100 plus points. So that's the plan here. Just talking out loud. Curious if that comes into play. We're currently making the third retest here of that level. You could draw it from the top down. Again, don't overthink these things. They're never going to be perfect. Everyone's going to draw it a little bit differently. It's just kind of a concept. You could draw it like this. I prefer to draw the less aggressive, meaning the further away from vertical, right? Line. The least aggressive line that I can possibly draw to a point is the one that I prefer to draw. And we do have 3 minutes and 50 seconds left on this 5-minute bar. And yeah, this is right ahead of 22,000, by the way. Tier 1 level, it is getting tested a lot, less and less relevant with each additional test, but it's always in people's heads. Lee, good morning! A nice bear bar closing at its low would have me relatively interested here. Just a heads up. 2 minutes and 25 seconds out. Joe says, how was the afternoon yesterday? Yeah, so yesterday's stream was a no-trade stream, which is relatively rare. We've had a few of those as of late. That usually doesn't happen though. And the afternoon was fine. It wasn't like a blowout day. I finished up a couple $1,000 and I was like, the win rate was okay. Some winners, some losers, but I was able to find some scalps after I came back after lunch, but it was in no way like a crazy day. Again, I finished up a couple of $1,000. Okay, so, you know, keep in mind here, we're kind of between 22,000 and we are only, the Nasdaq is only 0.14-ish% in the green. So I'm thinking about that break-even point as well on the Nasdaq. But 22,000, I think takes precedence, at least at this point in the day. My decision making here relies entirely on how this bar closes. Oh, come on, Bulls. Come on, Bulls. Weak close. Just a heads up. Had we gotten a close up here, we kind of pulled back to the wick of the previous bar. Got to hold off. Had we closed up here, I'd have bought that rollover. With that pullback changed a lot. We're going to get a retest here now, of course, of this trend line. All right, well, that works itself out. I'll be back in a couple of minutes. All right, we are back. So I'm watching this. I was keeping an eye on this. And this is very interesting to me. So we have 60 seconds left here on this 5-minute bar. Now, as I'm looking at this, here's what I'm thinking. We're currently pressing out of the after market open high. Okay, so we're pressing the range. If you want to include pre-market, the range is quite a bit higher. I typically tend to put take pre-market with maybe 25 to 50%. The relevance is after the bell levels. But, I mean, realistically here, I could pop this trade on and not have to risk all that much and just see if we can get a press up toward there, which I'm thinking about doing here. So let's just see how this bar closes first. And I have a few options on what to risk. Well, I'll get long there. And for risk, I am going to risk this curl. At least that's the initial risk that I'll put on, and we'll see if I, again, scout mentality, so we'll see if I can manage this kind of early. Bruce, good morning, how we doing? So, I like that entry. We'll see if we can get a nice push to the upside here, outside of that range. Now, just as a heads up here, ATR is currently 30 on a 5-minute chart, which is not incredibly high, but that shouldn't surprise us at this point. That's how it's been for the last week or so. So for little scalp mentalities, I'm not against, you know, again, I don't want to sit here and look, maybe it ends up pushing that hard, but I don't want to sit here and look for 150 points when the volatility is this. It's just, in my opinion, too big of an ask to make of the market. So I'm willing to lean a little bit heavier into a negative reward to risk on scalps. On swings, I'm looking more for, you know, if I can get better than 1 to 1, 1 1/4 to 1, 1.5 to 1, plus on reward to risk, 100%, 2 to 1 sometimes. But on little scalps, you know, leaning a bit heavier into negative reward to risk in a range market like this is, for me, the way to go. So again, I'll get ready to manage if we can see a bit of a harder push up, I think, through 22,050. Taz, good morning. How we doing? Eric, good morning. What's up, brother? How you doing? Quentin, this is Ninja Trader. Nah, James, the oil inventories, by the way, that just hit here at 9:30. Again, only moves the Nasdaq if it moves the S&P, which it usually doesn't too much. Oil inventories was fine for Take Profit Trader. The only prohibited news event today for Take Profit Trader was CPI, which is already over. Hit at 7:30 Central. Hey, Corey, good morning. Appreciate you. It's good to see you. Bruce, what's up? Yeah, I mean, when ATR is this low, I just kind of just gotta buckle down and scalp. That's the game. As much as I wish, ATR, I don't know if I necessarily wish. It would be nice if ATR, were triple what it is right now. It's been really, really low lately, but gotta do what you gotta do. Currently on the 5-minute chart sitting at, we're about 30, by the way, for the average range of a 5-minute bar in points. It's kind of wild. This market's getting stuck at single points, which is really interesting. You don't want to see that, too often. All right, that'll hit us out there for a winner. So again, ATR is low. So we are going to buckle down and scalp. Again, when ATR is that low, it's below 30 on a 5-minute chart, which means on a 2-minute chart, it's going to be a little bit lower, of course. I like to lean a little heavier, negative reward to risk. When ATR is a little bit higher or expanding, I lean heavier into, again, positive reward to risk. A better than 1-to-1 ideally. So it makes sense to me. So that is going to be here. One trade so far today. That's where we currently sit on the day now after that trade. Kind of a smaller scalp. So we'll see what else we can grab here again. Just got to buckle down and take the slow stuff. Eric says, what'd you end up doing on Monday? What was Monday? Was Monday the bigger swing trade? Yeah, Monday was the bigger swing. Yeah, I remember. Monday, sometimes you guys have better memories about my trades than me. I think that's a bad thing, by the way. Short memory as a trader. It's learned. You gotta move on quick. Monday was the bigger swing. I put it on, and risk on it was like $7,500. And I was looking to get somewhere between 8,000 and 12,000 on the trade if it pushed and hit target. I held it pretty much all day, and it was a little frustrating because of opportunity cost, but at the same time, I kept having to remind myself, like, there's nothing else I would take because the market was sideways, it was dead. And it was never really invalidated, the trade, so I just left it on. And by the end of the day, it was 20 minutes out maybe from the close of the New York session, so it was maybe 2:40-ish, somewhere around there. 2:40, 2:45-ish Central Time. I managed for I don't remember. It was green, but it was small green on that trade. I managed due to time, not price action, which sometimes you got to do because I don't want to sit around and wait for those algos that hit late in the day. So I managed due to time early. Small green, but I don't really think of it that way. I forget how much I made on that. But yesterday I finished up a couple $1,000. So again, I mean, today we just got to buckle down and scalp and get to work here. But yeah, Monday was kind of, I don't want to say brutal because it was fine. I mean, made a little money, but it never worked out in the way that I wanted it to. It was boring. John says algos that hit at end of day question mark. Yeah, the notorious like 350 algo. If you guys if you just watch the Nasdaq or the E-mini on any day. Wait till the 350 Eastern time bar opens. And there's an algorithm. There's a lot of algorithms. There's a lot of activity at 350. 10 minutes before the New York close. It's a lot of rebalancing going on. So a lot of times what you'll see, like the last couple of days, what we've seen is the market will be fading heading into that from a sideways action. And it'll be fading for like 5 minutes heading into 350. And 350 hits. And a bunch of buy programs turn on very briefly, and then the market continues to either go sideways or fade. So it's just basically rebalancing going on. And it's pretty, you can kind of predict it maybe with some edge, but it's very difficult. I don't think it's worth even trying. I tend to avoid the 350 bar if I can help it, unless I'm in a really wide swing trade where I know with a high degree of certainty that that move isn't gonna mess with my brackets. But you also have a 340. 340 is also an interesting bar sometimes. That I've noticed in the last like year or two has had more activity than it did previously. 350 has always kind of been a thing, but the 340 bar too, not nearly as volatile, but still some activity. These are the little things that the longer you trade, you pick up on, and it's like every trader kind of knows these things. It's just part of the game. Similar to like, you know, the Santa rally idea and Christmas in general and 4th of July. I don't think it helps you trade all that much, but it's good to be in the know, right? All right, we've got a minute 38 left here on this 5-minute bar. Let's see how this one closes. I think something that's really important is when you have a trade idea, you always got to remind yourself that the best probability you're ever going to get in the futures market is 60 to 70% probability. Okay, now again, you can increase that probability by going super negative reward to risk. You can decrease it by going really high reward to risk, but we're assuming 1-to-1 reward to risk to keep the numbers simple. The best probability you're ever going to get is 60 to 70%. So you have to remind yourself of that. And when you're looking at a trade, remember, that being true, the market only exists as a market if it is relatively two-sided. So you always got to look at a trade and don't just look at your idea like, wow, there's an ascending support. This is great. This is an obvious trade. I'm going to put it on. And then you miss the entire bear thesis. You have to look at both. Think as a bull, think as a bear, and then make your decision that way. Because it's not always 50-50. It's oftentimes 55-45, 60-40, sometimes 70-30. A little bit more rarely. But it's always relatively two-sided. There's always a thesis both ways. So, you can always kind of tell if people come in general anywhere, social media, whatever, and they're taking a trade and their level of confidence is that this is basically a 95% probability, they don't get it. They're wrong. They're blinded by, I think, a lack of experience, or maybe a lack of understanding. Because if you had a trade that had a 95-100% probability of success, the market would cease to exist. You have to have two sides. So always think of it as a bull and a bear, and then make your decision on which one you want to be at that moment. Well, ATR is starting to fade a little bit. We're now at 27. The ranges on these last couple bars are below 20 points, right? It's pretty tight. Yeah, now as far as news here, again, CPI today, PPI is tomorrow. We also get U.S. initial jobless. So that's 7:30 a.m. Central tomorrow, 1 hour before the market opens. And then Friday, we get the prelim number for the University of Michigan sentiment read, which is the important one. There's a prelim and a final, 2 numbers a month out of the University of Michigan, and the prelim is the more important one. That hits at 9 a.m. on Friday. Okay, again, tomorrow, 1 hour before the market opens, is PPI and initial jobless. All right, I'll tell you guys what. Let's do something we haven't done before. What are we at? 1 second, I gotta check where we're at. All right, I know what we typically do as far as likes on the stream. And this is a weak performance out of the like button today. If we can hit 200 likes on the stream by the end of the stream, so we have over an hour to do that, I'm going to give away a 50K Take Profit Trader test account. That work? That work for you guys? Is that cool? $200 likes on the stream, very simple trade-off, and we will give away a 50K Take Profit Trader test account. So I want some of you guys to keep an eye on it, because I can't keep an eye on it the whole time, obviously. If we hit 200, let me know. And we'll figure out how to select one of you guys at as random as possible to give that away. And you should have that as soon as we can. Well, that got the numbers up. Do I have to bribe you guys every day? So that's the deal. I think that's plenty fair. Let's see what we can do. That's okay. I'll bribe you guys. All right, finally getting a nice bigger 5-minute bar push here. I hesitate to say bigger because this bar is 22 points, but we are blowing it out of the water. All right, here comes the rollover of this 5-minute bar. This is starting to flatten out. You get those really, really clean legs up. This is so common lately. You get these clean legs up. Eventually, we tend to flatten out before either making a second leg or breaking lower. It's actually pretty rare, believe it or not, to see a push like this that's so clean with a lot of bull bars closing near their high. And this actually will, I think, help you make better trades. A really clean push like this, it's rare to see it instantly, or immediately, I guess, reverse back into a bear trend. Almost every time, not every time, almost every time, it either goes sideways, or it maybe turns into a bit of a bull flag, or just starts to flatten out and the buying pressure kind of subsides a little bit. But it's pretty rare to see this turn into this right away. Almost always you get this before either a second leg or a push downside. And then it turns into a wedge or a flat bottom, flat top. And then when you start seeing that break in either direction, it starts giving you some kind of an idea of what side you ideally would like to be on. But these really low volatility days, these can wreak havoc, especially for a beginner. And I get it, they're really tough. Michael says, what would it take for you to go long again? For me to get long again here, I would need to see consecutive bull bars closing near their highs. Because right now we're seeing a mix of bear bars starting to get mixed in here, and that tells me that we're probably entering a trading range. As much as I would like to get long, you know, just emotionally, I would love to get long and, you know, hope it pushes into highs up through 22.1, but I just don't care to do that because I'm not seeing what I want. So again, consecutive bull bars closing near their highs, and I would get long. Same deal now that we're in a trading range with consecutive bear bars. It would need to close, you know, below probably, honestly at this point, below the 20 EMA and the 5. Took profit on it, tubed out. That was a while ago. That's the daily realize. We've taken one trade so far. That's where we sit. What's up, James? Good morning. Yep, you just missed one scalp so far. We're up 22.40. That's 2,240. Yes, Patel. Hey, if you're just joining us, by the way, 200 likes. This is a very simple deal. 200 likes before the end of the stream, and I'm giving away a 50K test account at Take Profit Trader. We will select at random as I possibly can right now, and we'll get that transferred to you. If we don't hit 200, it's not happening. This 5-minute chart again, I tend to lean toward, I think we're entering a trading range, but if we can get a push, again, I'm not against, because here comes the rollover in 6 seconds of this 5-minute bar. That could have been consecutive bull bars closing near their highs, which would have triggered a nice little long scalp for me. Get back in, but that that's weak. Turned into essentially a doji. So I gotta wait to see how this next bar develops. All right, 3.5 minutes left here on this 5-minute bar. Again, in these low ATR environments, I gotta just buckle down and scalp, man, but gotta wait. I wait for the setup to present itself, put it on, accept the outcome. All right, I will be back in 2 minutes. Again, 200 likes, we'll give away a 50K test account. Gotta hit it though. We're at what? I think 150 right now. All right, back in 2. All right, still watching here the 5 minute. See if we can get a better little sequence going on. Again, I'm looking for consecutive bars closing near their highs or lows in the bear case. For the bear case, I would really prefer to see it close beneath the 20 EMA, and then I'd be cool. We'll punch it in. But it does look like this little range from down here is expanding. This is, again, really common. You get a clean push, and then we enter a trading range and things widen out until we break one way or the other. Really, really common to see that, especially as of late. All right, so we're getting a bigger bear bar here. No head, well. Yeah, U.S. Commerce Secretary says you can say China tariff levels won't change from here. China said that a fentanyl halt is not on the table. So good. This bar should expand out volatility a little bit, which is good. All right, we're just getting everything set up here so we can give the account away if we hit that 200 like goal. Bull's trying to pull this back up, retesting that 20 EMA here on the 5 minute chart. Again, this is a 5 minute chart. So volatility expanding. That last bar had a 67 range, which is 4x what we've been seeing as of late, which is very good to see. So, yeah, you know, I gotta let this news settle a little bit. We're currently kind of glued to that 20 EMA on the 5. See where the market settles back in after that news wick, or news bar, I should say. Yeah, market can't decide what to do around that silly little EMA. Again, top left, 5 minute. Top right, by the way, for context here, if you're new, is a 2-minute chart. Top left is a 5 minute. The bottom is the daily. So we use that bottom just to determine market inertia. And lately I've been executing mostly off the 5 minute, so that top left. And this is again a 5 minute. Okay, we've got 2 minutes left here on this 5-minute bar, and I am watching this. I would be interested in a relatively tight, well, yeah, I'd keep risk on this relatively tight. I'd probably just risk the signal bar for a little scalp, see if we can get a pop up toward the high here, or maybe a pop a little bit through, depending on where this bar closes. Again, 90 seconds out. What's up, Go Trade? Good to see ya. Yeah, we took one trade so far. We're up 2,200 bucks. One little scalp here so far. Now I'm watching to see. 30 seconds out until the close of this 5-minute bar. If we get a nice clean close up here, I'll buy the rollover, risk the signal bar, see if we can get a push up toward this high or maybe a little bit of a pop through. But if we wick back, especially to the wick high of this previous bar, I'll have to hold off. It's kind of weak. I'm gonna have to hold off. Let's see, we're kind of halfway. I mean, if you look here, this is a bit more discretionary, to be fair. But if we look at the close of that bar, we're closer to the wick high than we are the wick high of the actual bar. Strength faded. I gotta hold off. Again, just buckled down, looking for scalps here. See what we can grab. Low volatility day. We are getting close to 200, and then we can give away an account. Okay, 2 minutes here on this 5-minute bar. Again, same idea, very similar applies here. Though I would need there to be room to that little high we saw, 15 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago. $50 seconds here. Come on, Bulls. 8 seconds. Give us a nice strong push. Nothing. There's the rollover. Dominic, did you know that the range of that 805 bar is larger than any bar in the session? Yeah, I mean, if we look at that, that's the bar where it seems like CPI kind of got leaked, by the way, which is this bar here. This was pre-market, almost an hour and a half before the market opened. And the range on that was over 100 points. We have not seen a 100-point range. The biggest range we've seen so far on the day was less than 70 points after the bell. Of course, not including the CPI. I appreciate you, Go Trade. Yeah, that was an interesting day. Dug a semi-deep hole early and just scalped. Put my head down and scalped out of it. It ended up being a nice little day to scalp. All right, this is a really good example. So I'm looking at this bar. We have 2 minutes and 40 seconds left on this 5-minute bar. If it were to close right now, I would sell the rollover. However, we have to look at this. We just talked about this not too long ago. You have to look at the bull case. You have to look at the bear case and then make your decision after you've assessed both. Me right now, I'm seeing, if it closed right now, it could very easily change. I'm seeing weakening bull bars. Big bull body, smaller bull body, smaller bull body, reversal confirmation bar in what you could very much so argue is the beginning of a bear channel. But the bulls are going to look at this and say, ascending support. Ascending support. right? We got to take out this little high. The bulls are going to look at that. You got to look at both sides. Don't ignore the side that doesn't fit your bias. It's always a two-sided market. The probabilities just shift. We're 13 likes away from giving away a 50K Take Profit Trader test account. I think we're going to hit it, aren't we? Then we can do that. $201, we hit it, which means we are going to be giving away a 50K Take Profit Trader test account here in the next 30 minutes or so. Toward the end of the stream, we'll get that going. We'll give that away, and then I'll get that to you guys. We'll get that transferred as soon as we possibly can. Obviously, I have someone at Take Profit Trader who will get that transferred into your account if you win. And we'll get that going. I think we're gonna do this more regularly. Yeah, we'll be giving away some accounts here more regularly. So when the time comes to do that giveaway, I will let you guys know how to enter. It'll be very easy. It'll be right here in the chat. You won't have to go anywhere else. For now, I got my eye on this bear bar. Attaboy, Jared. It's a good day on the micros, John. Good work. Good work. All right, we have 3 minutes, 20 seconds left here on this 5-minute bar. Let's see if we can get a nice little entry. I would like to stop hunt this low. However, we got to keep in mind, if I'm bearish, what are the bulls looking at? It's always two-sided, just a shift in probabilities from our perspective. The bulls are certainly looking... Here, why don't we just draw it, huh? The bulls are going to be looking right here. Got to be aware of that if you're getting short. Minute 40 left on this bar. You can see the bulls already kind of stepping in, seeing that line we drew. But I gotta tell you, right now, if we saw a push lower and a close right beneath that, like if we saw a close right here out of this bear bar, ooh, I would sell that rollover. 100%. Look to take out some of these stops. Quick little scout mentality. "60 seconds. "20 seconds here. Let's see if the Bears can get something done. And I will be ready if we get that. Got some lettuce hands out of the Bears, huh? All right, same idea applies on this next bar. Let's see if they can get something done here. Lucas says, why today do you look at the 5 minute? We've been looking at the 5 minute. I've been executing on the 5 minute for, I think, a couple of weeks now since the market really slowed down. But up here, we still have the 5 minute top left, 2 minute top right. Of course, still looking at the 2 minute a lot. And daily on the bottom. Right, we got about 3 minutes left here on this 5 minute bar. All right, 90 seconds left here on this 5-minute bar, and I gotta tell you, the bulls are looking at exactly the bull case that I had to look at. Me, I'm trying to see if we can get a break downside so that I can get short for a little scalp, taking out some of these low stops. I really want to take out some of these stops, but range market, probably not going to get that big of a move here in the next few minutes. And if we did, it'd likely be on a headline, which kind of ruins the context of the trade. Well, interesting close there out of the bears. You get that rollover. This is really common. You get this rollover. Now you're on the opposite side of a very clear trend line that people are going to have drawn relatively similarly. And we'll see. A lot of times this ends up being 50-50 here. Sometimes you're able to kind of hold it, get a nice big push, a bull case. And if you fade, which is really what I would prefer here for me to get a trade going, you know, both really could be an entry for me, though I'd prefer to see the downside push for an entry here. 4 minutes, 20 seconds out. All right, we got the bear case starting to kind of take shape here. Let's see. 2 minutes, 45 seconds out on this 5-minute bar. Could be an entry for me here. That's where we sit. Just one scalp so far today. That's where we sit. All right, minute 15 out. Yeah, Benny, I could do that, and I do that. However, if I only ever took trades when the 2-minute and the 5-minute line up perfectly, I would trade way less, and I'm not into that. My edge is just fine on the 5-minute chart. It's just fine on the 2-minute chart alone. But especially the 5-minute chart, the quality of trades is plenty. I don't really. It's like getting. It's like as head of a department in a company. Let's say you're head of a department in a company. You get permission from the CEO to do something. Do you go to the next level down to get permission from them as well before you do it? No, you already have the CEO's permission. That's like the 5-minute to me. Yeah. Ah, shoot. Son of a. We got that wick back to these lows. That's just ugly, isn't it? That's really unfortunate. I mean, it closed right here, and I'm selling that rollover. I was one tick from hitting that button. This all tells a story. I mean, right? It wouldn't surprise me if we see a retest here at all. Wouldn't surprise me at all. Yeah, that's too bad. You know, I know most of you guys completely see that as a reasonable decision. I think sometimes people might look at that and be like, that is so picky, man. Just take the trade. I can't. It changes the probability. One little wick can tell a big story. A few wicks can tell a really, really big story. And that was, you know, a few wicks out from where I would have happily pulled that trigger. And that makes a big difference to me. Not because it's a few wicks difference in price, by the way. That's not what I'm talking about. I care about the relationship between the buyers and sellers at the moment of the bar close, and the relationship was indecisive because it pulled on back and closed right at those bodies, right at these two body lows. I mean, right? You look at there, right there, couple wicks lower, couple of points lower, especially. It's a beautiful setup, and here we go. You get that wick back, just like we talked about. We're gonna get a retest of this trend line. Really, really common. These are the little things that you pick up on. Okay, Michael, good question here. He says, if that pushed down after 20 seconds, would you have taken it? What Michael's asking is, on this trade, again, we got that wick back up. It closed right here. It's just indecisive, right? Bulls still have too much power for me to be comfortable with that probability. What Michael's asking is, on the rollover, if this had pushed down to like here, would I have entered? And the answer is no, because we're in a range market. Now, had this bar closed down here and we roll over and get a little bit of a pop, I would enter. That's kind of like the opposite of what you're asking. Similar, but kind of the opposite, right? Now, again, all that goes back to because we're in a range market. So I want to get a proper entry signal bar. But hey, if I can get a better price on the entry, man, I'll take it, especially in a range market. In a trend market, I would be more willing to do what you said, Michael. I know this all sounds very like picky and kind of confusing, but it all goes back to context. The number one word in trading is context, and I think that's the most underutilized factor. Everyone wants, hey, which setup will pay my bills? I can just take one setup a day and it'll pay my bills forever. Well, listen, in a range market, what would be a buy setup in a trend market can be a sell setup, and vice versa. So I think the most important thing is determining what kind of market are we in, first, and then looking at the setups and making the best decision you can at the moment. Again, dependent on the market inertia, meaning what kind of market are we in? Are we in a trend market? Are we in a range market? Trend markets are more rare than range markets. And you look up top here, bottom of your screen, daily chart, this is a range market. Has been for a couple of months. If you miss that context, it's a problem. All right, so we by the way, we did hit 200 likes, which means in about 10 minutes we will be giving away, and I'll let you guys know how to enter. It'll just be right here in the chat. It's easy. I'll be giving away a 50K test account at Take Profit Trader. 10 minutes. Let's see, we're kind of hanging out here right around 22,000. Again, tier 1 level, relevant, been tested many times here today, so it loses relevance, I think, with each additional test, especially when the tests are close together in terms of time. But paying attention to it nonetheless. Not taking trades off it, though, of course. Anonymous, yeah, same thing. They just call it a different name. might get a nice little bull bar here. You look back at this version of the 5 minute, you see making a retest of that trend line, right? Really common. One sec. All right, so that trend line is now lining up with the 20 EMA on the 5, so there's a little bit of extra added psychology there as far as the bulls, I suppose, and the bears. Giving the bears a little bit more confidence. We'll see if they can hold that down and kind of continue the trend here of a soft bear channel. And by soft, I mean, you know, we are getting relatively deep bull pullbacks in the channel. Bounces, I suppose. Okay, so just a heads up, remember the rollover of this next bar, it's not that big of a deal, but it'll be the noon Eastern time rollover. Sometimes you get a little extra volatility. It's not that big of a deal, but sometimes you get a little bit of extra. So we'll see how this bar closes a minute and 10 seconds out, this 5 minute bar. And then it's giveaway time, baby. All right. All right, so since we hit today's goal, which today was 200 likes on the stream before the end of the stream, we're going to give away a 50K Take Profit Trader test account, and we're going to do so right now. Now, again, bear with me. We're going to do a random selection to the best of our ability. So here's how you enter. First of all, make sure you have liked this stream. Very easy. There is step one. We're going to do this a little bit more often, too. This is fun. I like doing this. So, step two. Oh, goodness. 1 second. Hang on. All right, we just had a little tumble that I had to take care of. Okay, make sure you like the stream. Okay, step one. Step two. Say anything you want in the chat. The entry chats start right now. And then I will do about a third grade version of a random selection. This is not a trick question, by the way. You do not have to say, quote, anything you want. And I will give you 2 to 3 minutes to do so. And by the way, if you enter more than once, starting right now, you are disqualified. Ooh. One message. A single message. If you enter more than once, we're gonna check. And you are disqualified from right now. If you have not done so yet, we're currently giving away a 50K Take Profit Trader test account. 2 steps. Like the stream, make sure you got it liked, which is easy enough, or disliked, whatever. And number 2, 1 message in the chat. Any more than 1, you're out of here. All right, we about ready for this? We're playing roulette. There is no delay on my end. There is a delay because of YouTube's encoding, so don't worry. It is fair as far as selection. All right? So what we're going to do is, how far can we go back? It goes back pretty far. So we are going to rotate this randomly. Again, I told you this is a third grade version. I've yet to build a bot that selects for us, so we will do that in the future. And then, what should I do? Should I close my eyes? What do you guys think? Oh, by the way, whoever ends up winning, if after the rule was put in place, the other members can prove that you sent more than one message, we pick somebody else. Make sense? And they'll only get a few minutes to make sure. All right, so we'll go up and down, and I'll close my eyes. Ready? Caden Severtson. Did you send more than one message? Caden, did you send more than one? I need everyone to check. After the rule was put in place, by the way. All right, 30 more seconds for anyone to prove. Does Caden play fair? I think Caden's good. Caden, you win, brother. Let's go. So here's how you get it. So Caden, what I need you to do is in the description of the stream, it's super easy. Join the Discord, it's free. Just click it and join if you're not already in it. And then send a message in the daily discussion. I will add you as a friend. I will then have you send me a screenshot of you logged in so that no one can steal your account. And then as soon as we can, we'll get you transferred that account over to your Take Profit Trader account. If you didn't win today, don't be a crybaby. I've had some crybabies in the past when we do giveaways, and I don't like that. So we'll be doing this more often. And hopefully in the future, I can code up something that picks a random person from the live chat, which is actually not as easy as you might think it is. So, all right, Caden, join up that Discord, send a message in the daily discussion channel. I will add you as a friend, and then we'll get that transferred over to you. Yeah, I think Caden might be literally the only one who sent a single message. So, all right, guys. Well, it was fun. So let's, again, I'm going to do this more often. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to the channel. I'm live every single morning, 8:15 a.m. Central Time. Keeping an eye on the market here. We're certainly in a range. Again, it is a range day. I mean, you look at the 5-minute up top. This is the entire day, of course, and we're in a range day. So careful when trying to bet on breakouts in range markets. That can cause you some problems. But in trend markets, when we transition to a trend, which will inevitably occur, don't trade it like a range anymore. Market context, inertia is the name of the game here. The number one word in trading is context. All right, guys? All right, appreciate you all joining me here today. Again, I'll be back tomorrow morning around 8:15 a.m. Central Time. Be patient. Let the trade come to you, and when it's time, hit it hard. All right, guys, see you tomorrow. Caden, Discord, let's hit it.